Study guide number 8, number 13. Now, just picking up where we left off, now we're going from scientific notation back to standard form. So I've got 5.6 multiplied by 10 to the 4th. Now, you could actually take that, which is a 1 with 4 zeros, and multiply it out. But the shortcut is just to go the opposite of what we just did. The reverse of it, I guess, would be the better word. So we're going to take that 5.6. And every time you multiply by a power of 10, you're moving it one place. So when you move it 1, you've multiplied by 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's multiplying by 10 to the 1, 10 to the 2, and so on. Now when you leave it like this, it looks a little messy because you don't know exactly where your decimal is. Let's take the decimal off, and let's put, and we can put it at the end if we want to, and let's go ahead and put the comma in so it's a little bit easier to read, 56,000. So in this case, I'm going to take 7.912 and actually multiply by a million. That's what a 1 with 6 zeros is. So again, you multiply by 1, that's multiplying one place is 10 to the 1, 10 to the 2, and so on. So let's write that number here. And let's multiply 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I have a 7, a 9, a 1, a 2, and 3 more zeros. And I put the decimal there if I want to. That's where I moved it to. And I have 7,912,000. We had one like this on the last test. You've got to divide a number by, and that's your key right there, another number. This one is your dividend. And this one is your divisor. So I'm going to take the, let's do it over here. We're going to take the 0.015, the 15,000s, into the 7,500s. Now this one on the outside has to be a whole number. So I'm going to, you're multiplying by thousands, what you're actually doing. You're going to move it 3 decimal places. Very similar to our scientific notation. 1, 2, 3. Well, whatever I do to this one, I've got to do to this one. 1, 2, 3. Now add a 0. Let's bring that decimal straight up so we'll know where it's going to be in our answer. Now we've got 15. It won't go into 0. It won't go into 7. It will go into 75, I believe 5 times. Let's check it. 15 times 5, 75. Bring our 0 down. 15 won't go into 0. So in this case, we have a final answer of 50. Number 15, write 0.45, and I'll say it as a fraction, as a decimal, so you can hear the fraction in just a second, as a fraction in lowest terms. Well, the easiest way to make a decimal a fraction is simply put it over its place value. Tenths, hundreds, thousandths, so that's 45 thousandths. Now I'm looking for something that will go into both of them, and this is not even, so 2 won't go into it, but notice they both end in 5, one ends in 5 and 0, so I can divide by 5 over 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. If you want to do that by long division, you can. And that's in lowest terms. There's nothing else that will go into those besides 1. Now you're taking a fraction, 3/20ths, and writing it as a percent. Now you can go to a decimal and then percent, which is what we usually do in Algebra 1, but the easiest way now is just multiply it by 1, which is the same thing as 100%. We can cancel our 20 and our 100 and get 3 times 5, which is 15%. Number 30, solve for x. It's a proportion like we were doing a while ago. 4 doesn't easily go into 9, so I'm going to do it by cross multiplication. I've got 4 times x equals 7 times 9. 4x equals 63. 7 times 9 is 63. Divide by 4. Let's go do 4 into 63. And I know we're going to need at least one decimal place to make it come out even. So 4 goes into 6 one time. 4 goes into 23 5 times. Now, I could stop right here with my 3, and I could say, actually I think I'm just going to do that right here, and then we'll talk about it as the decimal. And I can write that as my remainder over my divisor, 15 3/4. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that for your decimal, 15 3/4. Or if you divide the 4 into 63, or if you know what 3/4 is as a decimal, you can extend it out. We'll pick it up where we left it. And bring the 0 down. 4 goes into 30 7 times. And then 4 goes into the 20 5 times. So 15 3/4. Or, and again, the decimal's not there when I wrote it as a mixed number, and then there it is as a decimal. Neither one of those is acceptable for x. Okay, this time we're going to round to hundreds and hundreds. Let's do the hundreds first, because if I look at this number and I'm interested in where the hundreds place is, notice that my hundreds place is, there's your ones, tens, hundreds. So if I'm counting by hundreds, I've got 2,400, if you just look at that number, and I've got 2,500. You've got to beat 400, 500, 600. You've got to make sure your answer is what you're saying here, hundreds. Notice it has no decimals. Hundreds doesn't have decimals on it. Now, let's look at where this number is in terms. I know that 2,450 would be right in the middle. Well, we know 2,436 is going to be somewhere over here. So you notice it's closer to, this is one we're doing, the 2,400. You can circle it. You can put your answer, which one's closer to. Now, when you're doing hundreds, you've got to find your hundreds place, which is right here. And I'm going to circle the whole thing. So it's going to be 2,436 and 87 hundredths. Or 2,436 and 88 hundredths. It's got to be one of those two. Now, when we look at the middle, it's going to be 2,436.875. And then we have to decide, and when it's 5, we always go, if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, we always go to the bigger one. Well, notice the next number is a 5. So we're going to put this rounded to the upper one. A 0 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 would have put it closer to the smaller one. Okay, let's find the area and perimeter of this triangle. Okay, area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Now, sometimes your base and height are not always, especially now as you move on up in middle school up to high school, are not always, the base is not always what it's sitting on. Sometimes you have to turn your paper, but this one's kind of nice. There's my base. And then the height is how tall it is, perpendicular. So this will be the height. So I've got, and we don't have any units here. So we've got 8 times 6. And then we divide that by 2. Because actually this triangle, what you're doing is finding the area of the rectangle and then just cutting it in half. So you have 48 over 2, which is 24. And then I'm just going to put units. I'm going to put square units on it since there were no units given in the problem. Now, perimeter is the sum of all the sides. So I've got, doesn't matter where I start, I'm going to say 6 plus 8 plus 10, which is 24 units. If I think about it, I'll come back and put units on the one on the test. Okay, unit rate. We had one of these on the last test of a 16-ounce package that cost $21.12. So the unit rate would be how much it would cost per ounce. So let's take our cost and divide it by the unit, which in this case is our ounces. So we have 16 divided into $21.12. Bring that decimal straight up. Now this is a whole number, so we don't have to move our decimal place. 16 doesn't go into 2, but goes into 21 one time. 16 from 21 is 5. Bring down your 1. 16 times, well, let's see what happens. See about 3. 48. I believe that's just a good guess. That's about as close as I'm going to get. And then we subtract. We have to do a little borrowing. So 8 from 11 is 3. And then bring down your 2. And 16 goes into 32 exactly 2 times. Now let's put our dollar sign back on it. And this is $1.32 per ounce.